5 o'clock. I'd like to call to order this regular City Council meeting for Monday, March the 2nd of 2026. I'd like to remind the audience that this meeting is being recorded and or taped. I'd like to note that all commissioners are present. Before we begin each meeting, we start with the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight Commissioner Blankenship will lead us in prayer.
Bow your head, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We ask you that you look after the city employees as they work day to day. We also ask that you look after our armed forces who are in battle right now overseas. It is for our safety, and I wish that you would bless this meeting tonight. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Brad. All right. Before we begin the meeting and everything, we do, of course, have to approve the agenda. Cody or Gina, are there any changes that need to be made before we approve tonight's agenda? Okay.
No, sir.
All right, perfect. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda for Monday, March the 2nd, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda for Monday, March the 2nd of 2026. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, perfect. Moving on to our minutes, and only one thing we have is our regular meeting from February the 17th of 2026. Bree, are there any corrections that need to be made and when we make? Perfect. All right. With that being said, I'll just make the motion that we approve the minutes for Monday, February the 17th of 2026 as presented in our packets. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes for Monday, February, or not, that was not Monday, that was Tuesday, February the 17th of 2026. That was presented in our packets. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, perfect. Now on to our long list of business, but we'll start off first with 6.1, consideration and of resolution 030226-A, the sale of electric utility bonds. Kevin Cowan of Gilmore and Bell and Brent Schrogen of Stifel? Stifel? Okay, cool.
Good evening, Kevin Allen with Gilmore and Bell, City's Bond Council. The resolution before the governing body this evening is what we like to call sale resolution. It's sort of kicking off of the process to sell bonds. And so last year, the governing body enacted a resolution 080425 that authorized improvements to the electric utility system, acquisition of generators and installation, everything related to that, at an estimated cost of $20 million, and authorized electric utility system revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $22,105,000 to pay those costs. So $20 million would pay hard project costs. $22,105,000 was intended to sort of cover bond reserve that you may borrow if that's necessary, costs of issuing the bonds. So you've been authorized for some period of time to issue those bonds, and we've waited because you've had no need to pay any project costs in the meantime, and now we're approaching, as I understand it, the time at which you would be asked to start paying for some of those costs. Preparation for the installation of the generators, 3 generators, is that right, later this summer, and then within the next 6 to 9 months pay for the rest of the generators. So that's what this does. Says, okay, we're authorized, now we need to start working on the sale of these bonds, and at some point have presented to you the results of the sale of the bonds, which you could approve. So I wanted to go over the resolution a little bit, and then I may turn it over to Brett, and he can talk about what he views as the calendar, more things you can expect in that process. But This specifically would direct Stiefel as the purchaser of the bonds to do the things they need to do, and you'll hear from Brad. There's bond rating and preparation of a preliminary official statement. It's sort of the prospectus, all the information we need to assemble so that prospective investors have what they need. And then once that's done, there would be a pricing date where potential investors have had access to this information. They're as educated as they want to be. They know what the market is, and they'll agree or not to invest in your bonds at some interest rate. So that's what this does. I mean, it will kick off a lot of activity. Preparation of these documents, as I mentioned, the rating process will probably be a fair amount of work. And Brett can speak more to this. Market, I think, is currently in a pretty good spot, and the hope is that later, and when Brett goes over the calendar, you'll note that it calls for a late May closing. Hopefully the market's in a good place, and you'll have the proceeds of the bonds available in late May to start paying for these things, as I said, in the next 6 to 9 months, and lock in that rate. So if you have any questions of me at the moment, I'll be happy to stand for those. If not, I can turn it over to Brett, and then I can come back up if you have questions.
Any questions for Kevin? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Brett Sjogren with Stiefel Nicholas and Company out of Wichita. Kevin did a great job. Hit most of the points that I was going to make. I'll kind of go through the calendar in a little more detail. As Kevin stated, you're to the point where you can start the bond sale process. You've gone through the necessary resolutions and protest periods and things like that, and the resolutions for your consideration tonight. Basically, after the adoption of the resolution, we will start, and we've already started putting together the preliminary official statement, the prospectus Kevin mentioned. It'll have information about the security of the bonds, about the economy of the city, about specifics on the utility revenue system. Basically provides a lot of information for investors to determine whether they want to invest in the bonds or not. We haven't dug through all of the information yet, but I mean, I think things look really good. I don't think there'd be a problem finding investors for the bonds. Once we get that document nearly complete, we will submit it to one of the rating agencies. I think you don't issue bonds very often, but I think the last time you issued bonds and got a rating, I think you used S&P Global. And there are really two major rating agencies, S&P Global and Moody's. There are a few others that we just don't use very often. They're not used very often. But I think I'd recommend you probably use the rating agency you used last time. They've got already has some information on the city. Both are equally respected in the marketplace, but I would probably recommend you use S&P Global. And they'll schedule a conference call with us and with your administration to kind of get some color on the city economy and the electric system, and kind of just talk through some questions that they need. They'll go to their internal credit committee, and they'll eventually sign a rating on the bonds, and that's mostly based on the electric system revenues, debt service coverage, what they feel is a credit score, so to speak, as to how the bond buyers are going to be repaid. And so we anticipate that'll happen in maybe the first week of April. We'd receive the rating the following week, the week of April 13th. And we would also submit the issue to the two municipal bond insurance companies, Build America Mutual and Assured Guarantee. And what they do is they provide an additional credit enhancement to the bonds. They basically guarantee the bond payments to the bondholders in case of any default. And they charge a premium to do that. But by doing that, we can sell the bonds at their insured rating, and the savings we get with the insured rating more than offsets the premium cost, and it makes the bonds more marketable. So we'll submit it to those two. They are equally as respected in the marketplace. What we usually do is recommend taking whoever gets us the lowest premium. We take bids from both companies, and whoever gives us the lowest premium, we assign that to there. And those companies will also offer, instead of fully funding a bond reserve, which is usually, there's a three-prong test, but it's typically like the average, 1 year's average payment. And we would usually fund that within the bond issue. We'd borrow that amount. But the bond insurance companies, and we've done this in the past, is they will issue a surety bond for less of a premium, and basically issue a surety bond in place of that bond reserve. And so overall it costs less. And so the bond insurance companies will do that for us. Like I said, that will happen the week of the 13th. If everything is complete and everything's ready to go, we anticipate pricing the bonds. We do some pre-pricing on Wednesday, April 22nd, and formally offer the bonds, hold an order period on Thursday, April 23rd. And if we have a good sale and we're oversubscribed, which means we have more orders than bonds available, we can usually lower the yields, chase off some of the other buyers who aren't interested in lowering the yields, and get to a place where we can fully market the bonds. If we're undersubscribed, and that doesn't happen very often, we may have to adjust things upward in order to get them sold. But as Kevin said, the market's in a pretty good place right now. We're 1 day into a market period with the conflict in Iran going on right now, and we've seen a little bit of uptick today with yields, but I think time will tell on how the market will accept that. I think sometimes they just kind of wait and feel things out and see how things go. But market has been really good the last 4, 5, 6 months. We've seen a lot of decrease in yields, and so I think we'll hopefully end up with a good result, barring some political things that are going on. If we are able to market the bonds and we hit the savings parameters, or not savings parameters, but the parameters identified within the bond sale resolution tonight, which Kevin remind me is the true interest cost 4.5%? I believe it's 4.5%. If we can hit that, or 5%. 5%, and I think we'll come in lower than that. That's pretty conservative. But if we can hit that target parameter or below, that gives the mayor the authority to sign the bond purchase agreement on that date, and that locks in the transaction, locks in the interest rates, and allows the salespeople to write tickets and lock in the investors, so to speak. And on May 4th, we plan to come back to the city commission to explain the sale results and have you consider the ordinance and the bond resolution that formally locks in and sets things up for closing. And if everything goes according to schedule, we're planning to close the bond issue on May 21st, and that's when you'll get the proceeds of the bonds up front, and you will be able to reinvest those bond proceeds until they're able to be spent on the project. So I think this is not really a construction project, so I think you will most likely spend the money pretty fast. At least buy 3 generators pretty much up front, and be able to earn some interest until you spend the rest of the money on the last 2 generators. But that is the plan. I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
Yeah, no? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, before you consider the resolution, I did want to mention we've had discussions at the staff level about your electric utility having substantial reserves and maybe deploying some of those, as a funding source. And so the numbers I've mentioned in terms of what's available in the project fund or the total principal amount may be less than that. But I do think between now and April 23rd, that's one of the things we can collaborate on and determine how much of that do you want to apply to the project. And Brett and I haven't talked about this, but I have talked to city staff. It may be that instead of funding a bond reserve from bond proceeds or paying for a surety bond, you just take some of the money you already have in reserve and say this is going to be the bond reserve. That would lower some of that principal amount, and you wouldn't pull that out of existing investments or things like that. So those things will be worked through. You know, if Brett came back and said, oh my goodness, it looks like the market's really improved, you can borrow the money at 2%, then his recommendation might be borrow all of it and keep your cash. That's probably not going to happen, but those are a couple of the moving parts that we'll work through in the next month or so. And if anything changed dramatically, we'd obviously have a discussion with you before April 23rd when the bonds are being priced.
So the real, to put some real life examples on what Kevin's talking about, beginning last year, Jamie began to put aside some money for these generators. Now, not a lot, you know, because it's only been 1 year, and this is a once in 25-year purchase. But the other funding source is that the steam unit, because it is from 1964 and aged, Jamie has very responsibly set aside capital equipment funds for parts, you know, on that unit that will no longer be needed. So between now and April, Jamie will get with Tara, and they will look at what funds are available to try to narrow down exactly how much money is needed to purchase the generators, and how much do we really need to finance, how much can we offset with what we already have. Jamie, do you have anything to add to that?
Okay. All right. Okay. Anyone like to make a motion on this, or I guess kind of looking, or or I'm kind of reading the script here. Do I make these motions, or is this?
It could be any of the
Okay.
commissioners.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 030226-A, a resolution authorizing the offering for sale of electric utility revenue bonds, Series 2026 of the City of Pratt, Kansas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve of Resolution 030226-A, authorizing the offering for the sale of electric utility revenue bonds, Series 2026 of the City of Pratt, Kansas. So, any other discussions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, passes 5-0. I declare that the resolution duly adopted by the governing body, and the clerk designates the same as resolution number. So, okay, perfect. All right, moving on now to 6.2, consideration of the sales tax issuance. Kevin Cowan again.
So we've had a number of discussions again at staff level about the potential for citywide sales taxes, and the city does have the authority under the statute to increase the amount of citywide sales tax that's being imposed. You currently are imposing 0.75%, so 0.75. You have the authority under statute to go up to 2% for general purposes, and then another 1% on top of that for special purposes. And to give you a little flavor, the pool sales tax election was a special purpose. It was only going to be used for the pool, and it was going to be limited to 10 years.
Kevin, so we have 2 sales tax currently issued. One is a 0.5-cent sales tax for general purpose, and it's my understanding that a 1/4-cent sales tax is solely for streets. Isn't that correct? So, so then we actually have another 1.5 cent.
For general? Okay, 1.5 for general and 0.75% for special purposes. But I think what we've talked about would be maybe the city would consider a general purpose sales tax, sort of broad in its application, whether it's general fund enhancement or property tax reductions, infrastructure, whatever you choose to deploy it to, but at the same time sort of minimizing the impacts or reducing ad valorem taxes. So you have the authority up to 1.5%. In terms of process, there are now 3 dates on which you could call and hold an election each year. The August primary date, so we have an August primary and a November general election every year now, both even and odd numbers. And then a single date to have a special election, which is tomorrow, this year. So the first Tuesday in March. This is newer legislation, just became effective last summer, but that's the way it's going to be unless the legislature chooses to make another change. So just looking forward, after tomorrow, the election opportunity dates would be in August and in November. If you had an August election, you would need to probably take action at the governing body level by not later than your second meeting in May, because the county election officer will need at least 60 days to receive the information about holding the election and then do what they need to do, print ballots and start getting set up for that. So kind of generally working back from the early part of August, that puts us in early June, and that's why I say late May would be sort of the target date for calling an election in August. If there was an election in August and it's successful, that would allow the imposition of that sales tax to begin on January 1st of next year, because that would allow the city to give notice to the Department of Revenue by October 1st, and that's required. You have to give the Department of Revenue 1 calendar quarter advance notice of a new sales tax, and they will only commence collection on the first day of a calendar quarter. So it's sort of January 1, April 1, July 1, October 1 are the commencement dates, and then go back 1 calendar quarter for when they have to know you're imposing a new sales tax. So an August election would allow, and if it's successful, then you would take action by ordinance and say, we are going to exercise that authority, impose that sales tax starting January 1, and you get that to the Department of Revenue by October 1. That all works. If it's a November election, you can do the math. You've missed that October 1 sort of notice date you'd have to give to the Department of Revenue. So if you have a successful election in November, the earliest you could tell on the first day of a calendar quarter, you could tell the Department of Revenue that you're going to collect a new tax would be January 1st of next year. And then they have, again, a calendar quarter before they start collecting it, and that would be April 1st. So that's aside from other considerations that you likely have in terms of election dates, August, November. It will impact when the commencement date would be, just because you get slotted into what calendar quarters are we dealing with. So those are the high points of what I wanted to hit. I do think if you call for an election, we'd want to consider including in that resolution maybe some reference to the pool sales tax that you never implemented. If you're going to tell the voters, we passed a sales tax that we never implemented, and we're never going to implement that you could relinquish that authority. That might be helpful to say, pool sales tax was approved, we've paid for the pool, we're not going to use that authority. This would be the only pending sales tax authority that we're talking about. So that's all I really wanted to mention. You may have questions, and happy to address this.
So what we've discussed before is, in order to provide property tax relief, we hear it in our gallery every single year during budget season that our citizens are taxed out when it comes to property taxes. And so we have the authority with the approval of an election, of the citizens, to implement a sales tax instead of, and at the same time promise to reduce our property tax rate. Tara and I have talked about this some over the last year, and she would feel comfortable with reducing our mill levy by 12 if we implemented a half-cent sales tax. If we implemented a whole cent sales tax, which we do have the taxing authority to do under the statute with a vote of the electorate, if we implemented a 1 cent sales tax in the city, we could reduce the city mill levy by half and still be able to fund all of the departments, all the general departments as we do right now. So those are some considerations. We're just trying to be responsive to the needs of our citizens. When we were looking at the half-cent sales tax to pay for the pool several years ago, Stiefel worked together with Gilmore and Bell to look up the numbers, and 1/3 of the sales tax dollars that we receive come from outside of Pratt County. And so it really is honing in on the fact that we have 3 state highways that run through our city that would then help fund city government, and that would be a tremendous tax relief upon property owners inside the city limits. So that's why we're looking at that, but Kevin is gonna need some direction from you at what you want drafted to be submitted to the county, to be put on that August ballot if you choose to move in that direction.
You know, I will say I've talked to some constituents, some of those constituents that sit out in the audience and everything about, you know, property tax relief. And I will be honest, a lot of them said I would vote in favor of a full cent tax if it gives me property tax relief. Now, they've said I'd rather do a half a cent just in case you don't know what the economy is going to do a year from now. But, you know, that's the big thing is that from the constituents I talked to, a lot of them would be in favor of sales tax increase, you know. But again, it all depends on, you know, how the rest of the voters feel and all that. But I think one thing is we have to also, I think we as a commission as well have kind of given that direction. Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. We also want to remain revenue neutral for for 2027, correct? So I think that's a big thing we have to tell hey, if you guys don't vote for this, we're still going to remain revenue neutral. We're not going to try to do anything, I guess, if that makes sense.
So is there a time limit? Would it be 10 years, 20 years, forever?
This is a perpetual.
Perpetual?
Yeah, as a general purpose, that's the real distinction. You could put a sunset on it as a general, but I referenced earlier the special purpose is required to have a not later than 10-year sunset. So yeah, this could be perpetual. That doesn't mean, and I feel like I should mention this, if circumstances change in 12 years from now, a new governing body would like to terminate the sales tax and move a different direction, they can do that. You have to use the same level of formality, which is a fancy way of saying you'd use an ordinance and say we implemented this tax in 2027 by ordinance, and now we're going to terminate it by ordinance. So yeah, it can be perpetual. No sunset is required. And a lot of the property tax, at least the ones I've seen, property tax reduction, relief, general fund enhancement, whatever you want to call it, are frequently perpetual.
And another big thing too is, and I mean, this is just something we'd have to keep an eye on once we decide what our option is that we have to keep an eye on what the state legislators are going to do with property tax as well. We don't really, there's 2 separate bills. The House has one, the Senate has one. We don't know if Kelly will sign anything or not. So I mean, there's a lot of what ifs still for the next 2 months, but I think we as a commission need to kind of start asking our constituents, or we do a survey monkey or whatever, and really start asking people like, where do you want us to go with this a little bit?
So you pointed out something important there about the economy, and sales tax would be subject to variation with the economy, where property tax is, we say how many dollars of property tax we need.
Right.
So that's one thing that's a variable. As far as the timing of, okay, say if we raise the sales tax effective January 1st, and then I don't recall the property tax that's collected at the end of
December,
27. Okay,
the end of 26.
okay, we're in 26, so if we passed a property tax, or a sales tax, it would start January 1st of 27.
Correct.
And so we would want to grant sales tax, or property tax relief for 2027.
Correct.
Correct? So that would align. We can adjust our budget for 2027 property tax.
But how are we going to do that? Because we'll do our budget like in July, and the the vote is not till August.
But we approved the revenue neutral rate in September.
Okay.
So we do have to have a budget, and we have to publish the budget, and we have to publish what the worst case scenario is for property
Yeah.
tax, before
Yeah.
August. But you don't implement the property tax until September, so you'll know the results of the August election before September.
And plus, we've kind of said what we plan on doing with revenue neutral. We're going to try and remain revenue neutral this year. So, I mean, no matter what, I don't know of how much, I don't think it'll affect too much since we try and looking at the budget for next year saying we're not going to raise property tax.
And I will tell you that the 12 mills that Tara had, when we spoke late last year, what would she feel comfortable with? That provides some cushion, just in case sales, the economy were to tank and sales were to decrease not substantially, but were to decrease. That gives us a little bit of a cushion to still be able to fund the government.
So with the 1 cent, what is the total sales tax rate for Pratt County, and how does it compare with others?
Well, it'd be 10%, but
With the 1 cent?
with 1%, yes.
With the new.
With it, but you got to break that down though. 6.5% is the state alone, and then right now, if you look at the 9%, 0.75 would be us. So really, we'd be 1.75 altogether as a.
That's true, and also please remember that a couple of things. First of all, the state did eliminate their sales tax on food, so the citizens are receiving a savings from that sales tax remittance. Also, I don't know what's going to happen with the hospital, but right now they have a 3/4 cent sales tax with the county that is mandated to expire once their building project is paid for. Now, I know that they've been in discussions about potentially asking the county for an operation sales tax, but that's not been approved by voters. So we are looking at by the early 2030s, that 3/4 cent sales tax, unless reapproved by voters, is going to go away.
So I guess the biggest question is, we just need to figure out what our citizens, talk to constituents and just see what they want to do. If they want to say no, stay revenue neutral, we'll stay revenue neutral. If they say, hey, lower it by half, lower it by a full cent, we just have to see what our constituents want, But from the people I've talked to, they're very in favor of a sales tax increase if property taxes are decreased.
So other cities, do they use like a Survey Monkey, or how do they do that? I gotta tell you anecdotally, all the guys I talk to, they're all in favor of 1 cent. If somebody from out of the county, 1/3 is paying that bill,
Yeah.
that sales tax, I haven't heard any negatives. And that doesn't mean there aren't any negatives out there. I'm just saying I haven't heard any.
Yeah, I don't think I can answer that. I'm not sure I've seen a survey. There's usually discussion, as you've had. Hey, I've talked to my constituents, they're in favor of this or that. What is absolutely true is the discussion of who's paying the tax, and if it's usually a positive thing. If you're a place that attracts visitors to your various attractions, and it's a way to sort of enhance your funding because you're providing things for visitors in the community. So that's usually a positive, I think, from where I'm standing and looking at you, the decision makers. If you can shift a burden from local residents, your constituents, to visitors, and the time, that's usually a positive thing. But one thing, kind of unrelated but related, if the tax starts on January 1, you will not see 12 months worth of collections and distributions to fund your budget. I mean, you'll probably see the first distribution of January collections in maybe March, April.
Sure.
So you'd want to keep that in mind. I mean, it's probably more like 9 months, and then after that, it's probably full annual or monthly distributions.
Right, but Tara, we get a large percentage of the influx of our property taxes early in the year. Are those property
Yep.
taxes that are received from the prior year? Like if we receive property taxes in January or March, are those property taxes that were collected for the prior year. So so the property taxes that we receive in January of 2027 will be for the tax year of 2027? I know that they'll be for the budget year, but I'm asking, is it a property that taxed the prior year? The properties on the prior year?
It's
So,
technically the tax year 27. So once everybody approves their budgets, gets into the county, they send out tax bills. The first half is due December to get distributed January. That's for the current tax year.
okay, I see. So I hear what Kevin is saying, and we would have to use some reserves to fund those first 3 months. That's gonna happen no matter what.
How are our reserves currently? So,
And what was that?
I guess if we would pass this, let's say the voters pass the sales tax, would we be able to have enough money in reserves to pay for things for those first 3 months?
I'm not with that.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
And I would also remind the commissioners that we have several enterprise funds that already fund those departments. So the electric fund is an enterprise fund that funds the electric department. Sanitation funds, the fees for sanitation fund the sanitation department. The same is true for the water department and the wastewater department. So you're talking about general fund. You know,
Okay.
you're talking about the police department, the parks department, the rec department, administration.
Okay.
It shouldn't be hard to calculate, but not off the top of your head.
Yeah.
I put her on the
So-
spot, I'm sorry. Tara, please forgive me for that.
On average, roughly 3 months of expense in the general fund is about $2 million. Right now, we ended 2025 in the general fund with about 3.3 million, so we'd be able to find it for a few months.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's not money we're gonna catch up until,
Yeah.
if it reverses at some time in the future. So that's just a permanent timing delay in receiving money. So it's not that it's gonna catch back up later in the year, it's just that 3 months worth is, gonna be short for,
But by
Yeah.
2028, we're coast,
We would be
Right,
kind of
yeah.
correct.
yeah.
With a small cushion, you know, and that Tara, wisely built into the formula when she said she would be comfortable with a 12 mil drop for a half cent.
yeah, so years after the year when it starts would get full 12 months worth of sales tax revenue.
Right.
It's just that first year we'll only get 9 months worth.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you, Monty, as long as I've worked for the city, which now it's been, more than 9 years, I don't know that we've ever been in a more, positive financial position. So if we were ever going to do that, I would suggest that now is the time.
Okay.
So what's our next step? What do we need to do? Do we need to do anything tonight?
No, I don't think so. But I would keep sort of late May in the back of
Yeah.
your minds as the time by which you need to make a decision. The mayor mentioned the legislature and who knows what it may do. Late May really fits nicely with that. You'll know by then, I think, what they have or have not done, and you can react to that a little bit if you had to. But I do think in the meantime, you all can think about and consider, continue to discuss, is it half cent, is it 1 cent? I'm happy to draft a couple of ballot propositions if you want to see those at some point. Maybe one says 0.5% for these purposes, and sometimes that's helpful just to see what it looks like. And it's not a heavy lift for me. I could turn that around pretty quickly if you were going to have a discussion of that.
And, one of the benefits to having our meetings put online now is we can ask, as citizens to contact you guys
Yeah.
and let you know what their thoughts are. And you can continue to ask people in your,
Yeah.
in your daily lives what their thoughts are on implementing such a tax.
I think it would be helpful to have examples available, you know, like if you have a house, if your property tax is currently so much,
Yeah.
this would be a reduction of your property tax by so many dollars.
Yeah.
Just,
I do agree. If I would like to like compare and contrast half a cent to to 12 mils to 28 mils, 27 mils, whatever we decide to do.
And we can do that on round numbers, like for $100,000 house, this is what
Yeah.
your reduction would be. On a $200,000
Oh.
house, this is what a reduction would be. On a $500,000 house, which I don't know that we have very many of those in the city limits, but that's what your reduction would be.
Yeah,
I would like
concur.
that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But
Can you help me with that, Kevin?
Yes.
Can you help us with
I
that,
think
Brett?
I think Brett probably
No.
crunched some of those numbers in connection with the pool, so.
It's my understanding on that, we have to be careful. I don't believe we can put out materials that are promoting a yes vote. I think it has to be strictly informational purposes
Right.
only.
yes.
Yes, that's what we tried to walk that line carefully with
Yeah.
the pool,
Yeah.
sales
Okay.
tax,
Yes, but
which did successfully pass
Yes.
overwhelmingly.
Yes, it
in-
did.
Was it 2021 or 2022?
Yeah, 2022 I think is when it passed or something like that. So, but I think this is a great opportunity. Like I said, I've had positive, for me personally, I've had a lot of positive conversations with a lot of constituents, and it makes me feel good that a lot of them would approve of a sales tax increase if they knew it relieved them of their property burdens a little bit. So, alrighty. Any other questions for Kevin or anything else? Okay, so I guess start collecting data, I guess, a little bit here just to see where we're at. So, all right.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Moving on to 6.3, consideration of the Airport Authority Board vacancies. Miss Regina Goff.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the commission is aware, I don't know if it's been 3 or 4 years ago now, the commission directed me as the city attorney at the time to prepare applications for our various boards. We have a number of boards: Travel and Tourism, Economic Development, the Cemetery Board, the Park and Rec Board. I'm sure that I'm missing one, but the purpose of those applications were to make sure that we were allowing a wider interest, people, an avenue, if they had an interest in serving on a board, an avenue to express that interest and be considered for that board. At the time, the commission discussed how it was not healthy to have all of these boards self-populate for years and years and years at the time. At the time that we implemented that application, we had some members of the Travel and Tourism Board that had been on the board for 20 years or more. And so there had not been the opportunity for new ideas, for fresh ideas, for people who wanted to get involved in government to get involved in government. And so, so we created these applications many years ago. I attended the Airport Authority board meeting in January and February, and I was quickly reminded why we have applications for those boards. One of the concerns previously with the boards was that COMA was not strictly being followed in some of the boards, and we wanted to correct that. I attended the Airport Authority Board in January and February with a business owner who wanted to propose a certain action with the Airport Authority, and I wanted to provide the city's perspective on that particular action. And the way that the board operated, I was really disappointed with. And I expressed that to you guys before, that I went to the board meeting and they went through the ministerial agenda items, and then it came up to that business item, and somebody very abruptly said, I move we go into executive session. And then, so like we do, the business owner and I left the board meeting and we let them go to an executive session, thinking we would have the opportunity to speak after the executive session was over. There's never been a meeting that I have attended with the city commission in 9 years where there were people in the audience that they weren't allowed to speak or invited to speak. We have it worked into our agenda where anybody that comes to a city commission meeting is allowed at least 3 minutes to discuss matters that are, pertinent to the city. Well, after the executive session was over, we came back in, sat down, and immediately they made a motion to table it in January. Given no opportunity to speak, therefore, and the reason that that's pertinent is because when citizens or representatives of organizations are not allowed to speak, it doesn't make it into the minutes. The reasons why a proposal is requested. So no record of the reason we were there, no record of the business's request. It now is in those airport authority minutes because they went into executive session until we came back in, and then they immediately moved to do something else, and then they went on. So then I went again in February because in January they voted to table it to allow the airport authority attorney to do some more work. Our attorney, Cody, worked closely with the airport authority attorney to make sure that all the pertinent facts were known and all the legalities were fettered out. So I went again in February, and again, it was the same exact thing. The ministerial items were met. It came to the business item. Immediately, I moved that we go into executive session. They went into executive session. They came out of executive session, and they made a motion without any discussion from the city's perspective or any discussion from the business's perspective. They made a motion that it was not in the best interest of the airport authority to do what the business wanted them to do. How they knew what the business wanted them to do, I have no idea because we weren't allowed to speak. What the city commission's perspective on the greater community good was not known because they never spoke to me. They never talked to me about it, and I was there representing this body. So now I looked at the airport authority's letter and recommendation of who they would like you to appoint to the board coming up next. And again, I see a COMA violation because they have not met again since we announced the opening of the applications. So we've provided the applications online. We asked the public to submit applications, and the letter from the airport authority says the rest of the airport authority members request that you appoint these two applicants. There's no way that the rest of the airport authority board could have met and decided on that without a violation of COMA. Therefore, I strongly recommend that we get COMA adherence under control. I will never tell a board member how they should vote, but I will tell them the process they should follow, and that's the legal process. And so I'm recommending that this body appoint two members of the airport authority to the airport authority board that are well familiar with COMA, that are well familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, that are well familiar with how meetings should be conducted, and honestly, members that will consider this body's direction for the community, because that's not happened. It's been self-populated, and up until now, and I have been part of the administration for many years, we have just rubber stamped any request that they've had. You know, we request that you appoint this member, and we have done so in good faith, thinking that there was adherence to community goals, to this body's goals, and to COMA, and I honestly, after my experience the last 2 months with the airport authority, I don't think that that's what's happening. So this was interesting to me too, because we have announced openings on the Park and Rec Board. There's 3 openings on the Park and Rec Board. There's an opening on the Planning and Zoning Board, and there's 2 openings on the Airport Authority Board. We announced that all at the same time. 8 people have applied for the Airport Authority Board, and nobody has applied for any of the other boards so far. There is an extreme interest in serving on the Airport Authority Board, and I think that that has been stifled, you know, because we just allowed it to be self-populating, and we have not allowed other people to express an interest to serve. At any rate, I've spoken to a number of pilots who are frustrated with the process of communication with the board, and I have spoken to a number of business owners who have ideas, you know, who would like to see the airport thrive and move forward with innovation, but they haven't had the opportunity to communicate. So I will tell you that out of the 8 people that have applied, 4 of them have reached out to me personally to tell me that they that they are in favor of innovation, that they're in favor of growing the airport, that they're in favor of aviation, and they want to see this board thrive, and they also want to listen to this body about what this body wants. The 4 members that have reached out to me are Daryl Shumway, Daryl Stroda, Bob Lazy, and Terry Williamson. Any of those people would be excellent choices for the board. Terry does already serve on the land bank, and so I told him, I said, a lot of times the commission tries to cast a wide net and pull people in who aren't currently serving, so I don't know if that's gonna be a consideration or not, but I would ask that this body consider, you know, the appointment of 2 of those 4 members, because they have reached out and they have expressed a commitment to those ideals.
Okay.
So, should we just give our thoughts?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
just give our thoughts. We can go around the.
Yep.
Okay, so Monty.
So, okay, I talked to Bob Blazy. I think he has a lot of connections that could be very beneficial in advancing some kind of business development at the airport board, and I would like to give him that opportunity to do it. So, I would be in favor of him. I have got to know Terry Williamson and think he would do well. I think Daryl Stroda would be a good choice. So those are my 3.
I'm in favor of the first 2 that you said, for exactly what you said, and Terry is a pilot.
And I will say, Bob is a former pilot. I don't know how much board experience Terry has had outside of the land bank, and I really think you need to have somebody who is very strong in COMA and board procedures. You know, that's my only caution.
And I was going to say the same thing. You know, Daryl Shumway has a lot of board experience, especially with being the PCC board chairman, and of course he has served on national boards and everything. My other 2 people would be, and again, just I don't care. I would say Bob Blazy or Daryl Stroda as well, but my number 1 choice would definitely be Daryl Shumway with his knowledge of board experience, especially. But again, I also support Bob Blazy and Daryl Stroda. Nothing against Terry Williamson, but again, he serves on the land bank, and I think we need to have a variety of people from different boards, not have one person serve on 2 different boards. But again, that's just me, of course. So, and then we'll.
Well, you know, in the past, we always, like Regina said, didn't rubber stamp, but we always, I think out of respect and continuity, we always considered the recommendations from the current board as to who they wanted.
Right.
But now we have a different process, and we have a process to review candidates, and it was really, we have 8 good candidates. And so I sat down and I tried to carve out that I didn't know any of these people. And I just looked at their applications, and I looked at what they had to offer. I did have 2 phone calls from applicants stressing to me, it was a very honest and faithful interest in how they could contribute to the airport authority and to the city of Pratt. And my ranking is, I would recommend 2. I'd recommend Bob Blazy and Daryl Shumway, based on their applications and like you said, their past experience with boards, and especially Bob's with his connections for, and Daryl has incredible experience with COMA, parliamentary
Yeah.
procedure,
Yes.
all that. So that's my 2.
And then Jeanette.
I've had phone calls as well, and those were ones that were on my list.
So Bob and Daryl are on your list too.
Yeah.
Daryl.
Shumway.
Okay.
Shumway. I should
Okay.
say. So
Yeah,
yes.
that's right. There's
Yeah,
2
I know there's 2
Daryls
Daryls on here.
Yeah.
So Daryl Shumway, correct? There, Jeanette. Okay.
Just for record, Daryl Stroda was the chairman of economic development also.
Okay.
So he does, he does COMA.
Yeah.
I mean, he.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So I think we have the biggest question is which one is, left out, and what and
Yeah.
all that. And then Cody, for something like this, is this do we, as I said, we have all these different ways we do this. Is this one where I appoint with their blessings, or is this one where we vote on? Or Gina, or who?
I looked at the ordinance, recently, I think it's just the commissioner, the commission, approved. But
Yeah.
I have it earmarked in my office if you want me to go grab my ordinance book.
But I have it up right here, yeah. It just says that it's appointed by the governing body of
Okay.
the city. so.
Just wanted to double check that we follow the exact procedure, so.
So how do we do this? We do it by
I would do it one at a time
Yep.
because there is a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think at least we are all on the same page with Daryl Shumway, correct?
I would have said with Bob Blaze.
Bob Blazy. I'm so sorry, Bob Blazy. So, all right, I'll make a motion that we approve Bob Blazy to the Airport Authority.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we appoint Bob Blazy to the Airport Authority. Any other discussions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got one down. So,
I'll make a motion that we approve Daryl Shumway for the airport authority.
Second.
I would choose Stroda.
Me too.
Well, we're gonna have to, okay, so procedurally, did you second it?
yes.
Okay, so then we need to have discussion and vote on that.
I agree.
I agree, but
Yeah, we're gonna have to, so, ooh. So we have 2 no's, 2 yea, and I guess it comes down to me then, so that's,
you have an active motion on the table.
yes,
You
we have an
to
active
address.
motion on the table, so.
So you either have to withdraw the motion or deal with the motion.
Okay, all right. It's been moved and seconded that we approve Daryl Shumway to the Airport Authority. Any discussions on that, I guess, or can we not discuss that, Gina? Yeah, so, I guess,
Which, that would be the appropriate time for me to
Yeah.
say I would favor Stroda.
okay?
Me also.
They're tough. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
both
is.
of them
At least we got Daryl.
Huh?
At least we have Daryl.
We've got
Yeah,
one-
we got we all
Fair
agree
enough.
on Daryl.
Yeah,
It is a tough decision, I think, because they're both good. They're all good,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah,
They're
I
all
agree
good
with you.
applicants.
It's not a vote against anybody, it's a
It
vote,
isn't.
vote for someone, so.
yeah. It's always the hard,
vote.
this is the part I like, is when you have good applicants, and you just have to sometimes say, this is who we're gonna go with.
This is a good problem to have good people apply.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Any other discussions on this? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Better do it by raising hands.
Okay, do we want to do this? All right. All those in favor, raise your hand if you want Daryl Shumway on the Airport Authority.
Is this the first one or the second?
No, this is for the second post. So we already approved Bob. So
It's so hard.
so do you want Daryl Shumway or not? Because it's 2-2 right now. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. And those against? Okay. Passes 3-2. Okay. So we have Daryl Shumway and Bob Blazy serving on the Airport Authority. Okay. All right. Thank you, Gina, for.
Sir, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on now to 6.4 now. Consideration of well 18 test access license and conditional perpetual municipal access easement agreement. Cody Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so this is essentially, what it's called a test access license, as well as a conditional perpetual municipal access easement agreement, if the facts allow for that. Essentially, here at the location, this Marion Ackley Drive, Rodeo Arena Drive at PCC has been determined to be a potential site for well 18 for drilling access. And so I was asked to draft a document that would allow the city and its contractors to access the property and do what's necessary to determine whether or not this well would be a viable well going forward.
So is this going to be on PCC property or Withers property?
So it's on Withers property, but where they would like us to do the test well, and if it is a good water source to build the permanent well, we have to access PCC property through the Rodeo Drive, because the Withers would like to maintain the.
They don't want us to take up their frontage road on Finch Hill.
Right,
Okay,
they
I
want
got
us to
you.
be further
Okay.
in, and so we have to be able to drive through the Rodeo Drive to get to the property.
And that's the street in the outfield of the baseball field, correct? And then
Correct.
going
Yes, this
east.
is what the dirt road continues off of Marion Ackley Drive.
Okay, gotcha.
continuing east.
All right.
And this is only determinant whether or not the test well, so we can get a test well, and then later, if the test well hits good water, to further add a permanent well 18 there.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
all contingent on whether Withers gives
Sure,
us the grant.
sure.
Yep, so it's two parts, and it handles both of them that way. We can take care of it with one document. So the access license is what gives us the initial ability to access the property or go across the PCC property in order to get to the Withers property to test it. And then if the conditions are met, as set forth in this agreement, which then the city would issue a good quality water determination as well as a development election to the college, then that would essentially trigger that perpetual use of the access, so that the well and all of that, the work that needed to be done could be done by accessing the property through PCC property. So if it turns out not to be a viable site, then the conditional use goes away. There's no perpetual use. So I wanted to make that clear to PCC as well. They're not automatically, by agreeing to this, agreeing to a perpetual access. It's only if the city determines that that well area will be something that it can go forward with.
I just have one other question. Jeff, how did we determine that this was going to be a good place to drill?
Geographically, it's high on a hill. It's away from the solar area by about a quarter mile, and it's within the circumference of well 16 and future 17, so it is still inside the daisy chain with connecting wells.
Okay, okay.
So the wells closest to the river are the ones that the nitrates have continued to rise substantially. The further north we get, the lower the nitrates have tended to be.
Okay. And how far away from well 16 are we able to drill?
We have to be within a half a mile,
Half a
to
mile,
connect
okay.
to the next one.
Okay.
And we do also have other alternate sites for future well 18. We are just prospecting for the most options we can to find one more good site.
Okay, sure.
I don't know how familiar this body is, but we did do a test well for well 18 at Sandy Creek. It looked like it was a good prospect, low in nitrates, but it ended up being very high in sodium.
Salt, yeah. Yeah.
Oops.
In sodium or salt, depending on the chemical name. But anyway, so it was too high. It wasn't a good spot for drinking water, but Sandy Creek is aptly named. And so we're
Yeah.
moving more into a clay soil area that's still north.
So we just need to approve it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you'll approve it, and then this can be submitted to PCC.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we approve the well 18 test access license and conditional perpetual municipal access easement agreement.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve of the consideration of well 18 test access license and conditional perpetual municipal access easement agreement. Any other discussions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, 6.5 now, consideration of the KMEA Board of Directors appointment. Regina Goff.
Yes, so currently, we received an email a week or so ago. We have 2 permanent members on the KMEA board and 1 alternate member. Currently, Jamie and I are the permanent members on the KMEA board, the voting members, and Evan Hance, who is the superintendent of the power plant, is the alternate member. This body appointed me, I think, last year.
Yeah.
But Jamie's board term is up, and so we're requesting that this body reappoint Jamie to the KMEA board of directors.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That sounds pretty easy. I'll make that motion that we approve of Jamie Huber to the KMA Board of Directors.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve of Jamie Huber to the KMEA Board of Directors. Any other discussions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Congratulations, Jamie. You're welcome.
That was my one time I could have voted against you.
All righty. 6.6 now. Consideration of community center remodel for the police department. Chief Oler.
Thank you, sir. In your packet, there is a modified diagram of the floor plan. Chase and I have worked together for the last couple months trying to reduce the footprint, the cost of that facility to try to get it to be more acceptable, cost-wise, and make it a little more palatable. Chase did a kind of a re-layout of the building. One of the major changes was we had proposed building a training room, which was actually going to hit kind of in the middle of that facility, saving some money. We can utilize that southeast corner room that's already existing, save some construction costs by not building that training room within the secure area of the facility and utilizing a room that's already existing. We went from having 4 separate sergeants' offices in the original facility to a combined layout where 2 of the sergeants will occupy a singular office, which they rarely work together. On occasion, if we have officers on overtime or on leave or something like that, 2 of the sergeants may be working together, but certainly it will be no problem. We've relinquished some of the area that we had previously proposed, which would be the southern part off the foyer of that building. Originally, municipal court was going to be in the far southwest corner. That was moved originally, and then to the B29 room. We've moved that to the eastern, or Chase proposed that we moved it to the eastern side of the building, which we can utilize instead of having our secure door at the bottom coming off of the foyer. It will be actually the secured doors going into the facility will be just north of that to where we used to vote, and then making an access hallway into municipal court off of just above into that election office area. This was sent out to the commissioners for some questions, and I talked to several of the commissioners about any questions and hoped I clarified them to the best of my ability, but I think Chase did a good job with this layout, and if I'll yield to him to any further comment.
I think the only thing I'll really add is on the floor plan. Needed to reduce square footage and make a few other changes, but those are significant ones. So cutting out that west little section there of that main hallway, going back, eliminating that, saved, and then the training room as is. So between those 2 areas, cut out about 2,000 square feet of remodel space. So that was a big thing, obviously, just in terms of square footage. The generator, backing it off to do essentially just this server room. I think the city, in the event we have a more prolonged blackout, the city has a portable generator or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, we talked about that. So save some money there. The access controls as well. I don't know if we talked too much about that, but instead of doing every single door, backing that off to the more just the critical access points. So all in all, this plan hasn't gone, I haven't solicited any bids or anything on the revisions, kind of wanted to fill the commissioners out, see where we're at. So, but the way things sit now, I feel comfortable, not a bid by any means, feel comfortable saying around the $750,000 range for this proposal. there's a few little small tweaks or something, but I'd like to go and visit with mainly our mechanical and electrical contractors, iron out the electrical with this revised plan, HVAC, maybe we can reuse some of the ductwork. If it works out a little bit better, save some money there. As originally we were not going to, it was gonna be all brand new, but if there's something there, we can, so, that's kind of where we sit right now.
So Chase, in the $750,000 now, is it gonna be complete new HVAC, or are you reusing ductwork? In the $750,000 that you were proposing now?
Plan is all new. The
Okay.
units themselves on the roof stay, but the ductwork is all new.
Okay.
In the areas that we remodel, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I don't, everyone's familiar with the existing building, but, I mean, this is the current big room. That's nothing, I didn't draw anything else on the senior side, so. But I can go through, I mean, to clarify, I mean, really, other than overall size, most of the details noted in the proposal back from the scope of work from December 12th are still, I'll have to double check, but are almost all still the exact same, just overall size is smaller.
So is what we're looking to do say that, yes, in principle, this is good, and then you'll give us a firm quote, or
Yeah, I
what are
mean,
we looking to do?
to put it bluntly, I mean, I guess I didn't want to, we had a plan before that was approved, and so, I mean, I didn't want to honestly put any more my time and money into it until kind of had some commitment from one way or the other which route we were going to go. So, I mean, if you say yes, and informal capacity, narrow this down, we like it, and it comes back at the numbers reasonable, I mean, I'll certainly do that, but I just didn't want to come back and say, no, not low enough. I mean,
Well,
scratch the
I
thing
met with
altogether.
Joe last week, and I had quite a long phone call with you and everything. I certainly appreciate you two working with this governing body, and from where we started at the very beginning to where we are now is, and I've always said, is more palatable for me to vote for it and to okay it than, and I felt like, and I told you and you that I couldn't honestly vote for $944,000 because that's a lot for half of a building, and we're only remodeling the inside. I can feel a whole lot better at $750 doing that. And that was the way I felt.
And I would agree with that. I would like your solid number.
Okay.
I agree with that too. I think Brad's spot on, and I think this is about third or fourth time, and third
Yeah.
time's a charm. I think it is a better plan,
Yeah.
floor plan. And,
I mean,
I think in the grand scheme of things, if you, 5, 10 years from now, you look and say, we've got this police department that we did for $750,000 in lieu of going out and building a standalone building and doing something else. To me, this is a bargain.
And there's still, I mean, that's what Joe and I talked about. I mean, there's still, a good chunk of square footage. I mean, if something changes or whatever, expansion or
Sure.
somehow it just simply doesn't work with new procedures or something, there's room for movement too, so.
Well, as Chase, you and I have talked a little bit and everything, and Joe, I know you and I have talked and everything, I know we kind of approved of something back in December and everything, and, I apologize that we rushed that through, and we then said, hey, let's fix it again, but, I know, you guys, the police department, you guys need your own space. I know exactly what you guys are going through. I've done a few tours in your building, and it's almost as small as this room right here almost. So, but, Chase, I do really appreciate all you've done for the city, especially all the work you've done, and especially going back and trying to readjust the numbers to cut it down even another 200,000. And Joe, I appreciate all the work you've done and saying, okay, what can I give up here? What can I move here and stuff? So, this is something I can swallow, 750,000 plus two. We have to look at the long term. Is that we pay, Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, $500,000 to the county, correct, on rent, correct?
What we do is we pay the entire salary and benefit package of each of the dispatchers, and so it does come to between $400,000 and $500,000.
And I think, and now with us moving the police department into this area, we're now going to save taxpayers' dollars, money that way, because we're going to split with the dispatch, correct?
Correct. Well, primarily city taxpayer dollars, which is appropriate because dispatch does not only serve city. Dispatch serves county EMS, it serves county fire, it serves all of township firefighters, all of those departments, the sheriff's office as well as the PD. And so it is appropriate that the county contribute
Right.
to the cost of dispatch.
Right.
So really, in reality, every year, we're saving $250,000.
Approximately.
So in 3 years, we get a return on our investment.
Correct.
And we're in a location that the PD can better utilize. And the county actually, I think the county would just as soon have us out of there. They need the space. They want the space.
Certainly.
Because do you guys also share the building? And I didn't notice, you guys also share the building with Kansas Highway Patrol as well?
They used to have an office in there. They've since moved out.
Okay.
They had an office in the basement of that facility, but they don't utilize it anymore. There is a conference room downstairs, but all the patrol deputies are in an office downstairs too. And then their evidence storage is on the south side of the building. Ours is on the north side of the building. But yeah, they could definitely use some office space in the first floor.
And it'll be nice too to have all of you in one location, evidence, the detectives, everything.
That will be nice. Yeah, because right now Detective Sleep is still working out of the municipal building, and she's solely over there. It wasn't so bad when Detective Ward and I were there together. We had somebody to bounce ideas off, but she's isolated for the moment out there by herself. But yes, it would be nice to have all of our staff in one facility.
So what is I think, with, when do you think we could start on this project, Chase, if everything?
I'd say give me 30 days to iron out the numbers first, and then I'll have a better answer then.
Okay.
So tonight, what do we need to do? Just a consensus that we're moving in that direction?
Of that, we're,
Or do we, because we don't have a contract to approve, really, do we?
I think Chase would just like some
I mean,
confirmation. that
Yeah.
this is how you want to
Conversation,
move
I mean,
forward.
I feel comfortable with the conversation we've
Yeah.
had to
so,
continue on,
So Jeanette, are you on board with it?
are you on board with 700? Okay. So I think, Chase, I think the commission's all,
Yep.
you're okay with it, Brad? I think we're all okay with the numbers and everything you've given us.
Okay.
Hey Chase, with
Yep.
the smaller footprint, how long do you anticipate construction to take?
I'll answer all that at the same time. Within 30 days, I'll come back. I guess, let me ask one more question, Brad. So on your question on ductwork, if it does come out that we could save another 10,000, 20,000 if we utilize some of that, were you asking, are you opposed to that or just
No,
curious?
no. I know you're trying to cut money. I don't know that old ductwork is a way to cut
That-
money.
That was our concern.
I
That's all
really
up in
don't.
there. Okay. We're on the same page.
I'd rather see new ductwork going in with. I understand that those rooftop units aren't real old, and they can be reused, but I don't see the need to reuse ductwork.
Okay.
All right, well, Chase, I guess you have the answer now.
Keep going. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Chase. We appreciate everything. And Chief, we appreciate everything you guys have done too.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Moving on now to 6.7, consideration of beneficiary acknowledgement and agreement. The Mark A. Schneider Trust for the Park Department. Mr. Cody Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this up in my reports at the last meeting. I was just mentioning we'd have one more thing basically to finalize this process. The trustee got that to me. It's a pretty basic agreement, just essentially stating that the City of Pratt Parks Department will receive this 25% coming from the trust and that it will comply with the trust terms. We've also, you've already approved an agreement with Heartland, essentially helping us out with that. And so this is all that's left in terms of what the trustee needs in order to close out the trust and make the distributions and all of that. So I would just ask that this be approved today. It has City of Pratt, Kansas Parks Department on here, but you can authorize the mayor to sign because essentially it's the city obviously oversees that. So would ask you to do that so that we can get this finalized and get the distributions going.
Okay. Hey, yeah, if we're ready to
motion?
approve. Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we approve for the mayor to sign the beneficiary acknowledgement and agreement for the Mark A. Schneider Trust for the Pratt Park Department.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve of the mayor to sign the beneficiary acknowledgement and agreement for the Mark A. Schneider Trust, Pratt Park Department. Any other discussions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, looks like we got a lot of things here from Cody, but we have a lot of considerations on here from 6.8 to 6.14.
Well, the good news is this is the more streamlined process as opposed to having a full-out hearing like we have had recently. These started out with the same nuisance process for each of these properties. However, none of these properties requested a hearing within the 15 days after they were served, and so city code, as well as state statute, then authorizes the city commission to pass a resolution to abate these issues. I will tell you that they are also in municipal court. We have given all of these property owners time through municipal court to resolve these issues. And we're essentially at the point now where we've kind of hit a standstill with these. There have been several that we've had, they've essentially voluntarily cleaned up after we got them into municipal court, but these are the ones that have kind of stalled out. So I'm asking the commission to approve these resolutions so that the city, if necessary, like I said, we'll still pursue and continue these cases through municipal court. But when we get to this point, I like to have both options available, especially if it gets to the point where the city has to abate it and does so, but if the property owner decides to try to prevent that from happening, then we have the municipal court case where jail time could be issued, and if they continue to try to impede that, then would ask the judge to issue that jail sentence and have them spend the time in jail while the city abates the property. If the city moves forward with these resolutions on these properties, there's still 20 days after this is passed that the property owner can abate the issues themselves. If they do so, obviously the city would have no need to further or to pursue abatement on the property. If they fail to do so, the city then has the ability to abate the issues on the property. And if it does so, the cost of that abatement would be applied to the property through the clerk. I will note that in the versions in the packet, there was one reference to Reno County. I was doing these for another city in Reno County, and I think I just left that in or had that on the brain. But I did revise that this weekend, and so the final copies that are there to sign have replaced that with Pratt County on those.
Okay.
So that's essentially where we're at. You can go by one. I think if you're all in agreement, you could authorize all of them at once. It would be similar to kind of like a consent agenda type issue. And so I would ask that this commission approve these resolutions so that the city has the ability to abate. But again, we'll continue the process through municipal court as well.
Okay. Does anyone have objections if we just do a consensus on all of these? Yeah, I mean, if Cody says we.
Yeah, I would still ask.
Yes, a motion.
a
Yeah, I
motion,
just want to make sure before we do a motion that we're all fine with just doing one giant consensus
Yeah.
on all of them.
I would ask you could state the motion to approve the resolutions as set forth on the agenda, items 6.7 through or sorry,
6.8.
6.8 through, 6.14.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we approve the resolutions declaring a nuisance, ordering abatement for the properties listed on agenda items 6.8 through 6.4.
6.8. Yes, I'm so sorry.
8
You're
through
right.
6.14.
Okay.
Second?
Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve of the resolutions declaring a nuisance and ordering abatement from business 6.8 all the way to 6.14. Any other discussions?
I just went out and drove around today and I saw two of the 7 working on it.
Okay.
So,
Well, good.
but they got a long ways to go.
Hey,
You just saved 45 minutes.
all right. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all those carry. All right. Moving on now to open public comment. City matters only, 3-minute time limit. The public is allowed to speak on issues or items not scheduled for discussion on the agenda. Comments should be limited to issues and items germane to the business of the governing body. The commission will not discuss or debate these items, nor will the commission make decisions on items presented during this time. Members of the public will be limited to 3 minutes for comments. Anyone from the audience like to talk? Okay, with that being said, we'll now move on to reports. City Manager, Ms. Goff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just very quickly, I'm continuing to reach out and search for, sadly, a replacement for Cody as he will join Hutchinson as their full-time city attorney in just about exactly 1 month. Bree and I have worked on revising the city attorney job description to make sure that it reflects our ordinance. Then also on, and I'm sure Cody may speak more about this, but on Thursday he will be in Topeka to represent the city's perspective on the requested amendment to the statute on the neighborhood revitalization program to allow for the designation of the entire county for cities or for counties under 10,000 residents. And so since Cody will be in Topeka providing in-person oral testimony, I will be remembering how to be a prosecutor in municipal court, and I will prosecute municipal court cases on Thursday. I'm looking forward to doing that. I miss being in the courtroom sometimes. I did forward to all of you an email today that the chamber director did step down, and so they're going to be looking for a new chamber director. Sarah's worked well with the city. You know, we appreciate the service that she did provide. And also a number of us were able to attend the Mardi Gras on Saturday, and it was a good time. So it was a great community event. We saw lots of stakeholders in the city there enjoying each other's company. So that was very pleasant.
Perfect. Any other questions for Gina? All right. Thank
You got a lot going on, and I appreciate all.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else for Gina? All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Public Works Director, Mr. Shanline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Water Department had a service leak today at LEC. I believe that has been corrected and they're back in service.
Yes, they shut us down about 12:30 this afternoon.
Right.
The guys did an incredible job. We were back up and running. It was a 2-inch main
Yeah.
within 2 hours. I thought
Yeah,
they did a really
luckily-
good job.
Yeah. Parts were on hand, minimal outage, so that went very well.
Right.
Street Department is currently and wrapping up crack sealing on Country Club and are repairing an alley between 5th and 8th on Illinois. Was deeply rutted and just in need of service. Parks Department, the dock at Lemon Park has been completed and stained. It looked fantastic. Danny is busy planting trees. They have currently planted 13 already, 9 in Lemons, 2 in Zerger, and 2 in Hampton Pinnock, with 7 more to go. Unestablished where those are going to go yet. wastewater had a repair out at the airport lift station. Hickman Environmental came out and reinstalled a couple of butterfly valves out there. It is now running at full capacity and will hopefully minimize call-outs out there. I submitted a grant application for an AARP grant for the Green Trails ADA ramp that we need to replace. We're gonna go back with concrete on that, and I did receive back bid estimates from Orozco Concrete. I reached out to multiple contractors, but they were the only ones that sent back an estimate. So we will look forward to hearing from the grant applications on that and won't proceed until we do. We're finalizing documents for the Maple Street project, working on dates, April 27th for advertisement, May 28th for bid opening. Tentatively, construction should start at the end of June with construction completion around August 28th. We were hoping to be done before start of school year at PCC, but that just came too early this year. So that will be a street closed construction. So Maple Street Bridge will be closed for that 50 days. And then we are, KDOT is reviewing documents for the 54-281 C-CLIP projects, and that will take several weeks for them to review all that. Joel is not optimistic that that will start still in 2026. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay, thank you, sir. I did want to just say thank you to you and Gina for helping, to meeting with Doug and I on the SC Telecom and all that from last week. So, all righty. Building inspector, Mr. Walker.
Thanks, sir. Last week I inspected 4 roofs, 1 concrete. It was a driveway approach. Served 1 dangerous structure, 2 electrical inspections, and 4 nuisance properties that I served.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right.
You can tell from the agenda that Robert's not busy at all.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
You know, all those nuisances and all that. So, but Robert, you keep up the great work.
Thank
so,
you.
all right.
Yeah, thank you for pursuing that, you and Cody. I appreciate you pursuing those nuisances.
Thanks. Good work. Appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions for Robert? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Electrical department, Mr. Huber.
Thank you, Your Honor. All the dirt got removed between the substation and the power plant from the diesel spill that we had years ago, and it all finally got replaced. We made a lot of preparations to make sure that their excavators and their semis didn't hit any of our poles. But then the weekend before this last, a car hit one of our main feeder poles right off that corner. So we're going to be out there working for the next few days trying to replace a pole and conduits and possibly wires. So it's going to be kind of a time-consuming mess, but we did what we could. So other than that, everything's going really well. So still waiting on engineering to finish up drawings so we can get started on the power plant. So,
Will that vehicle's insurance pay any of that?
yeah, we'll submit it to them. So, yep.
All right. Any other questions for Jamie? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Rec department, Mr. Crouch.
Thank you, sir. Pratt High baseball, softball started practice today at Green. Skyline softball also started practice today at Green. Skyline baseball started practice today at Dickerson. We turned the water on at both facilities for 6th Street ball fields and the Green Sports Complex. The Boy Scouts started their cleanup on yesterday at the community center down in the basement. We had sanitation dropped a big dumpster off for us there, and so they started that. So there'll be the people that have stuff in there will be cleaning out as we get closer to that March deadline. The 3rd and 4th grade all-star team went to KC. They had a blast. They got better each game. They loved it. The parents were super thankful. They loved it. But that's where we're at. We have spring soccer coming up in April, and then our first tournament is coming up at the end of this month, March 28th, 29th. So we're about a month out, and we've turned registrations off because we're full.
Awesome. Great.
We're at 40 teams. That's pretty much the most that we can take for a Saturday, Sunday tournament. Once we get into the summer and school's out, we can branch into a Friday night start and take a few more teams, but it's a little hard with school still in session to do a Friday night start for out-of-town teams.
Yeah.
So we're full at 40, so that's good news.
And that's awesome.
That's all I got.
Justin, I'm sorry, could you please also discuss the Kia G this weekend?
Correct. Kia G's this Saturday at the municipal building. I think there's still a few tickets left, so if anyone wants those, they're available. But we hope to see everybody there Saturday at the municipal building.
Perfect. All right. Any questions for Justin? Okay. Finance Department, Ms. Eastis?
I'm gonna defer to Tara today.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll hit up Taryn then just a little bit. All right. Police Department, Chief Oler.
Thank you, Mayor. Officer Austin Stats graduated from the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center on Friday. Myself, Sergeant Wright, and Lieutenant Sheldon attended his graduation. So he is on the streets today.
Awesome.
His first day. Officer Jesus Marquez from the Great Bend Police Department also took employment with us. He began his career with us today. So as of right now, the police department is down one officer. We've hired five individuals in the last 6-7 months to try to get our staffing. We're doing good. We do have some 800 radio reprogramming issues that we're going to have to address. The Kansas Highway Patrol switched their KHP1 and KHP2 channels, unknown to all other law enforcement agencies that they were going to do it. So all 800 radios that we have in our possession have to be reprogrammed. Sergeant Wright is taking those units. We have 5 handhelds, 2 car units, and 1 base unit for dispatch that all have to be reprogrammed so we can hear KHP. We don't operate on those channels, but we can hear, and it gives us an access to communicate. We've had several chases come into our community here recently. One that I was involved in where I grabbed an 800 radio going out the door, and I had no comms with them because I was unaware that their KHP1 and 2 channels had changed because they didn't let any other agencies know. So we got to get those reprogrammed. Patrick Peterson did come to the police department the other day. He's working on a couple of our cars, making some antenna adjustments, outfitting Sergeant Gimple's car, and then stripping down the old K9 unit. He's a great resource. He's got great knowledge on those emergency vehicles. I did have Core Life reach out to me about a security event detail on late March on the PCC campus for a motorcycle BMX crew that's coming through. I don't have the exact date, I apologize for that, but we're going to facilitate that as best we can and getting a couple officers out there. Our retired K9 Finn passed away in early February. Sergeant Gimple is going to organize a memorial event for K9 Finn here in the near future, probably on 382 campus. I think we're wanting to get a brick or something with Finn's image on it. All the services and stuff were being handled because he was a service dog, and there's a service out of Wichita that took care of all the cremation and gave Danny a nice little urn with K9 Finn's badge and image on it. We have Officer Barrett, Tatro, and Gata, and Sergeant Sleef attending the 281 SRT, Special Response Team training. It's for the next 5 weeks, every Monday. It's local. It's a free training. They're getting training on building entry, critical incident, and SWAT type operations. We haven't had, the police department hasn't had an officer on the SRT team. We don't intend for all 4 of these officers to be on that team. There's a lot of training, a lot of equipment that's involved in staffing somebody on there, but we definitely are going to get the training and start that process. Under Sheriff Barrett, Max Barrett and I have been in conversation about equipment and stuff that we can provide, help facilitate those officers on that team. Some news from dispatch. Director Landwehr received the Equiture, the voice recording products. I believe I briefed the commission on that a couple weeks ago. It did come in, however the install is not till April 24th. It's the voice recorder. Anytime there's any radio traffic or 911 calls, we're required to record that. Our voice product system is antiquated, and this Equiture will be installed mid-April, she reported. She also reported that Severe Weather Awareness Week is this week, and weather permitting, they'll be testing the sirens and throughout the on Wednesday. Everbridge training for dispatch. Everbridge is a system, a mass alert system. If we have a critical incident within our city or in our county, that's free to our citizens that they can register for dispatch. If we had like a fire breakout or a tornado, where we can alert our citizens within anywhere within Pratt of a potential tornado that may be coming towards your residence, whether it's in town or in the county. She's attending training on that next Wednesday. And she'll also, in Kimber, Christine and Kimber will also be attending TAC training. TAC is Terminal Agency Coordinator in Wichita on the 25th. And I was going to give a shout out to your water department because they did a really good job. And it wasn't that inconvenience to the police department. We could go to the courthouse, but there is a jail that desperately needed that water being turned on and don't have the ability to move prisoners. But they did a good job. They had us back up and running very quickly. That's all I have.
Okay. I do have one. I have, you know, I've seen it. You know, it's Facebook and everything. I've seen a lot of. Seems like a lot of kids are going around town. I don't know. Are they ding dong ditching, or are they actually causing property damage?
We haven't had any. You're talking about a couple weeks ago. We had all the Ring doorbell cameras and spraying silly string. No damage has been reported. Just suspicious activity and hey, who are these kids?
Okay.
Type thing. But we haven't had any damage reported that we know associated with those kids. Not very smart, but it's kind of a TikTok trend, social media trend that
kids being kids,
kicking doors in the middle of the night, and God forbid they kick the wrong door. And
that's the big thing I'm worried about is with these kids is that I get it. I did ding dong ditch when I was a kid, but you know.
I as well, but.
Yeah, hey, it's on record. I mean, he's probably gonna put in the. John will put in the paper. So, but
does that mean you have a criminal record?
No, I was never caught. So boom.
Statute of limitations.
You know, this is exactly an example of when a lawyer says you have the right to remain silent.
Are you telling me to be quiet here?
I can't believe that you were a hoodlum as a kid.
Hey, you know what? I was a kid. We like to have fun. So, but I was just making sure we haven't had too much.
No damage. No reported damage from any of those citizens. Just kids, 3 o'clock in the morning, knocking on Ring doorbells and spraying silly string.
Okay.
Hopefully it's contained to that.
Yeah. So, all right. Perfect. Thank you, Chief. All right. Any other questions for Chief Oler? All right. Okay. Fire Department, Chief Hoffman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Since the last time we met, we did send 2 trucks down, excuse me, down to the Comanche County Fire with the task force, with mutual aid with some of the other county departments. We sent 1 truck, 1 brush truck down, kind of to protect property with our engine. Turned out really well, and they were able to come back that evening and able to stop the fire just south of Wilmore. Like I say, they had a great time with doing that and helping with everybody with that. We had a couple of calls this last week, had a couple of MVAs and a couple of gas calls. Turned out nothing too serious, nobody got hurt. We also, myself, Matt Calloway and Gabe Nall attended Topeka Fire School this last weekend and brought home some pretty good information with that. Like I say, meeting some other new people and good friends up there as well. And we're also looking at starting more work with the training center, getting back into that with the weather change. So we're going to be possibly doing some quarterly training with some of the other departments. I'm going to put out some information so we can get that going again. So,
perfect.
Other than that, that's about all we got.
All right. Any questions for Chief Hoffman? All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right. City Attorney, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of projects I've kind of long-term that I've been working on, trying to finish up. To Jamie, I'm going to get some. I've been working on some updates to the renewable energy interconnection parallel standards. There were some statutory changes, and so that's basically results in we need to make some updates to what we have. So you should be seeing that at the next meeting. I'm getting those to Jamie here this week. And then also, we started it when Russ was still here, but some updates to some of our water systems ordinances. I'm going to kind of refresh that with Jeff and Kelvin and get those ordinances before you at the next meeting as well. And then, as Regina mentioned, I'll be in Topeka on Thursday for oral testimony before the Senate Committee on Assessment and Taxation. I submitted my written testimony on Friday, and they confirmed receipts this morning. And similar to how we handled it before the House Committee, Tyson Eisenhower, his testimony kind of focuses more on kind of the legal issues in terms of the Attorney General opinion, what it said, and things of that nature. And then to pair with that, I focus my testimony in relation to that to some of the kind of on the ground legal issues, really focusing with the headaches that it causes trying to draw that map and who's left in, who's out, especially in smaller communities. It just doesn't make sense to spend the time and resources on that. And then also just with limited staff with that 10,000 flow cutoff. I think the House is pretty, they responded to it well. It passed the House overwhelmingly. There were only 4 nay votes. So we feel pretty good about it, but I guess the committee did state that they would like someone there in person as well. Tyson will be on their video system. He wasn't able to change some things in his schedule that Thursday. The only thing I had Thursday was municipal court, but as Regina also said, she's going to be filling in for that, so we didn't have to continue those cases. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and then I'll be sure to keep you updated on anything we hear after.
Okay.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions for Cody? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Apparently, Tara, you're going to be in charge of the finance side, I guess.
I guess so. We're close to getting 25 year-end wrapped up. 98% there. Just need to check a few things. So something pretty good. Did those year-end transfers. Try to talk fast before it starts squeaking again. But year-end is mostly done. Once we get all that finalized, I'll get you final year-end reports so you can look and see how that ended. We did have enough cash and budget authority to do those year-end transfers that were approved in December, and I'll be working on February month-end as well over the next week. So that's pretty much it.
So just as a reminder, those year-end transfers that Tara's referencing were the transfers that would cover the cost of the remodel of the community center for the police department's purposes.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Tara? All right. Thank you, ma'am. All right. City Clerk, Mrs. Gardner.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be attending the City Clerk's training next week, spring conference in Manhattan. I'm also hoping to finalize, I will finalize the changes to the personnel policy manual for your review for the next meeting. It's a lot of language changes that were recommended from Gilmore and Bell, correct?
No, Forrest Rhodes, he is often our retained counsel with Folsom Pekin. But one of the biggest issues that we're looking at with the personnel manual, and we need to loop Cody in on this because it came to light afterwards, we have 2 law enforcement officers who are males who are expecting babies in the next few months, and we have a maternity leave policy that allows females to use sick leave, for a certain amount of maternity leave. And most entities are going to allowing not as much time, but some time for for new dads to use some sick leave when they have a newborn come home. Yep. And so that is going to be one of the most substantial changes that we're going to recommend.
Okay. Perfect. All righty. Any other things for Bree? All right, perfect. All right, moving on to mayor reports. I don't really think I have anything except for I guess, talk to constituents and talk to people and just seeing how they feel about a sales tax. So again, we have an idea when we do discuss this in May. It kind of helps us out with, how we want to put it on the budget, how we want to put it on the ballot for the August primary. So, but other than that, though, I think that's it for me. So, Commissioner Hosteller,
Nothing.
Commissioner Myers, Commissioner Siemens, Commissioner Blankenship. Okay. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn for this evening.
Second.
Been moved to second that we adjourn for this evening. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.